Saudi officials and Houthis hold peace talks in Riyadh for first time since 2014. The United Nations says 700 million people face hunger across the world. Flooding and lightning strikes kill 8 people and cause serious damage in major areas in Yemen. Good evening. Welcome to Yemen Today TV. I am Abiradi. Saudi Arabia invited Yemen's Houthi delegation to Riyadh to continue ceasefire talks. The kingdom wanted to resume Oman's efforts to reach a permanent and comprehensive ceasefire in Yemen and a sustainable political solution acceptable to all Yemeni parties. This report has more.
Mohammed Abdul Salam, the Houthi delegation's chief negotiator in Saudi Arabia, stated that peace is the group's first option, expressing hope that the Riyadh talks will result in tangible progress on all humanitarian, military, and political issues, achieving peace and stability in Yemen, neighboring countries, and the region. According to Abdul Salam, the Houthi negotiation team's journey to the Saudi capital is a continuation of prior meetings with the Saudi delegation in Muscat and Sana'a. The Houthi team arrived in Riyadh on Thursday evening, escorted by Armani diplomats, as part of attempts to end Yemen's conflict and establish peace. The Yemeni government, for its part, supported the Saudi-Armani efforts, as well as the United Nations and international initiatives to press the Houthi militias to respond seriously to demands for peace and alleviate the suffering of the Yemeni people. In a statement issued on Friday, the government stated that it would continue to be open to all initiatives aimed at achieving a just and comprehensive peace, in accordance with the 3 terms of reference and in a manner that ensures the end of the coup and the restoration of state institutions, as well as ensuring Yemen's security, stability, and development. Saudi Arabia stated on Thursday that it has invited a delegation from Sana'a to visit Riyadh as part of the Saudi plan launched in March 2021. United States National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan welcomed on Friday the first official visit of a Houthi delegation to the kingdom. According to Sullivan, this is the first official visit by Houthi representatives to Riyadh since the war in Yemen began nearly a decade ago. It comes after nearly 18 straight months of calm that began after UN-mediated truce first went into effect on April 2, 2022.
Government forces announced intercepting a Houthi drone west of Taz. A field military source confirmed that the air defense of government forces were able to shoot down a Houthi drone. This comes about 48 hours after the rebel militia drones targeted positions of government forces in south of Ma'rib province. In Sana'a, educational sources revealed that the Houthi militia exploited the strike of teachers and started a children recruitment campaign. Sources confirmed that the Houthi militia started organizing scouting shows and training for hundreds of thousands of students in areas under its control. According to the sources, the militia has begun also to immobilize students in all government schools by holding sectarian activities. Leaders in the Houthi militia continue to loot public and private lands in Eb Governorate. Local sources said that leaders of Houthi militia seized lands belonging to endowments west of the city with the protection of armed groups affiliated with the militia. They added that the armed robberies took place amid inaction of concerned authorities affiliated with the militia. According to the World Food Programme, up to 783 million people still go to bed hungry every night. The WFP chief Cindy McCain told the United Nations Security Council on Thursday that because of the lack of funding, the agency has been forced to cut food rations for millions of people, and more cuts are on the way. The following report has more details.
The World Food Programme Executive Director stated that the worldwide hunger crisis has left more than 700 million people unsure of when will they eat next. Demand for food is persistently rising, while humanitarian assistance is running out. According to research by the Food and Agriculture Organization, little to no progress is being made towards the majority of the goals relating to food and agriculture. Although the pandemic disrupted food markets and increased unemployment in 2020, hunger has not decreased to its pre-pandemic levels. According to the estimate, 2.4 billion people worldwide, an increase from 1.75 billion in 2015, were severely food insecure in the year 2022. Yemen is one of the countries that has been suffering from hunger over the past years. Millions of Yemenis experience extreme effects of the war, ongoing economic crisis, and disrupted public services. The current level of hunger in Yemen is unprecedented and is causing severe hardship for millions of people. According to the World Food Programme, malnutrition rates among women and children in Yemen remain among the highest in the world, as about 1.3 million pregnant or breastfeeding women and 2.2 million children under the age of 5 require acute malnutrition treatment. Yemen will continue to suffer unless a longer ceasefire agreement is reached. UNICEF reports that compared to the same period in 2022, acute malnutrition rose while the situation with regard to food security in Yemen's districts under the control of the government of Yemen only slightly improved. However, the projection for the period from now through the end of 2023 indicates the need for additional program investments, as the small gains may be erased, according to UN agencies. Also, David Gressley, the UN resident and humanitarian coordinator for Yemen, stated that the UN and its partners achieved significant progress in reducing the worst food insecurity last year, but these achievements are fragile, and 17 million Yemenis remain food insecure. Additionally, Yemen's hunger and malnutrition statistics are grave. The country has been plagued by one of the world's worst food crises. Parents often find it difficult to bring their children to facilities for treatment, as they cannot afford transportation fees.
Yemen, the worst famine the world has seen in 100 years. Right now, over 8 million people are facing starvation. Since the beginning of the war, 85,000 children have died due to the lack of food. We cannot allow this to continue. The Yemeni people can't wait.
Head of Presidential Council Rashad Al-Alimi left Aden to New York City to participate in the session of the United Nations General Assembly. The chairman of the Presidential Leadership Council will address the UN summit, touching on developments in the Yemeni situation. On the sidelines of the international meeting, Al-Alimi will also hold high-level discussions on humanitarian and economic conditions. Flooding have hit major areas in Yemen and caused serious damage. 8 people were reported to be killed in lightning strikes across the country. This report has more details.
The lightning strikes occurred on Friday in Hodeidah Governorate on the Red Sea coast. 6 women and a man were killed and 3 others were injured. The area is controlled by Houthi rebels who seized the capital in 2014, prompting a Saudi-led coalition to intervene the following year and setting in motion a brutal conflict that has created what the United Nations describes as one of the world's worst humanitarian crises. Also on Friday, flooding killed 1 woman and destroyed dozens of homes in the nearby town of Hais, according to an official. Hais is located in a territory controlled by the internationally recognized government based in the southern city of Aden. Extreme weather has displaced more than 200,000 people in Yemen so far this year, many of whom had already been displaced multiple times, the UN Population Fund reported earlier this week. Heavy rain is now forecast to affect nearly 2 million displaced people over the coming weeks, threatening lives and livelihoods across multiple communities. The nearly decade-long war has left infrastructure in shreds across Yemen, which is the Arabian Peninsula's poorest country. The United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization expected that some inland areas in Yemen will witness flash floods in the coming days that could negatively affect the lives of thousands. The FAO indicated that the country will witness light to moderate rains that may cause flash floods, which extend into the Eb and Hodeidah governorates. It explained that it is also expected that the southern parts of the borders between Hajj and Al Mahwid governorates will be exposed to these floods. During the past year, Yemen witnessed high rainfall compared to previous years, causing torrential rains that swept away shelter camps in Ma'rib and several governorates, and also caused damage to agricultural crops.
Coming up in the news. Severe cooking gas hits Houthi-controlled areas, aggravating the suffering of Yemenis. Welcome back. An acute cooking gas hit Sana'a and other Houthi-controlled areas, according to local sources. Houthi monopolized large quantities in special stores to sell it with high prices in the black market. The following report has more.
In the north of the capital Sana'a, there was an incident of a cooking gas explosion. This has exacerbated the risks facing the lives and safety of the residents in the city controlled by the Houthi militia, as a result of storing it in residential neighborhoods to sell it on the black market. A gas struck in a warehouse belonging to a businessman loyal to the Houthi coup exploded nearly 2 weeks ago, causing the destruction of 2 homes and a mosque. The sound of the explosion was heard throughout the capital, causing great panic, and flames were seen in distant areas inside and outside the capital, which made many residents think it was an explosion. A few days ago, a resident received death threats from the Houthis after demanding that a gas station to be moved outside the neighborhood. The threat incident was preceded by the Houthi gunmen attacking a protest with live bullets, demanding the transfer of the gas storage after the explosion that happened at the station, causing damage to some homes and the displacement of residents. In the city of Hodeidah, a massive fire broke out in a station belonging to a Houthi supervisor in the commercial district last August. Although the fire did not cause any damage to the surrounding buildings or the people, it caused great panic and forced the neighborhood's residents to flee. Hardly a week goes by without one or more incidents of explosions or fire happening at stations and points selling gas and fuel belonging to the Houthi militias, and the matter is not limited to the capital Sana'a alone, but it also extends to the majority of the governorates and regions under the control of the militias. Also in the city of Al-Bayda, a tragic disaster happened in January of last year, killing dozens of people and injuring them, in addition to material losses as a result of the explosion of one of the gas filling stations in the city. 6 years ago, a black market gas station exploded in Ib, and a huge fire broke out, prompting residents to flee to save themselves after it destroyed their homes, shops, and cars without any intervention from the militias that control it.
Over the past 2 days, water supply has been cut off from large parts of Aden Governorate. Local sources confirmed that most of the districts witnessed a stifling water crisis due to poor water supplies from production fields. Officials at the Water Corporation said that strong winds put some production fields out of work, while efforts are still underway to restore water pumping to all areas of Aden. Yemen stands at the historic opportunity for a shift towards lasting peace, said 98 international and national actors delivering humanitarian responses in the country. The organization presented the United Nations General Assembly with a statement highlighting the ongoing crisis and urgent funding gap, saying that with the hope of peace, there is strong momentum to invest the durable solution to displacement. More on this story is within this report.
A joint declaration signed by 7 United Nations agencies, 31 foreign non-governmental organizations, and 60 Yemeni civil society organizations is the first time the humanitarian and development sectors in Yemen have raised the alarm about the critical financial shortfall affecting humanitarian response activities. Yemen's humanitarian response plan, which aims to assist nearly 17 million people, received just little more than a third of the funds necessary. This represents the apex of a 3-year declining trend in support. Donors covered 87% of the necessary funds in 2019, 57% in 2022, and currently just 31%. As international leaders gather in New York in the coming days for the 78th UN General Assembly, and with only 3 months before the end of 2023, the 98 organizations are calling for more resources to continue providing life-saving relief to Yemenis. Signatories to the joint statement call for donors to ensure humanitarian funding is made available as early as possible in the year, rather than towards the end and inconsistently, so that humanitarian response is not interrupted. Yemen is currently at a crossroads that might lead to longer-term stability, and its people should be looking ahead and rebuilding their lives. With education, security, and health generally underfunded, the statement emphasized the critical role investments in those sectors will play in Yemen's future. Yemen's burgeoning civil society needs support to maintain the progress already made in improving people's resilience, access to education, and means of livelihood. The statement also demands for more volume and quality support for Yemeni organizations, notably women-led organizations that are at the forefront of assisting people in need. Due to a crippling funding crisis that has seen donations drop by roughly half while acute hunger reaches record levels, the United Nations has been forced to limit food, cash payments, and aid to millions of people in several countries.
The representative of Yemen to the European quarters in Geneva participated in the meeting of the World Health Organization. The committee was briefed on the current public health situation in the world, focusing on the consequences of the coronavirus. In his speech at the meetings, Yemen's representative touched on the reason for the return of the polio virus to spread in the country after eliminating it in 2009. Here is a reminder of the main headlines. Saudi officials and Houthis hold peace talks in Riyadh for first time since 2014. The United Nations says 700 million people face hunger across the world. Flooding and lightning strikes kill 8 people and cause serious damage in major areas in Yemen. This is the end of the news. It was Abir Ali, and thank you for watching.